I love it.
Hey, what's up? It's Eric Nevins. I'm so glad that you are here. We're broadcasting across the fruited internet, I guess we'll say, right? As a broadcaster I used to say. Okay, friends, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the live. This is Eric Nevins Live. We've been doing this all day, every week. I'm excited. We have a great conversation for you today. I've been really anticipating this one because we're going to have some conversations, as my guest said, maybe a little philosophical. It's not going to be too heady for your Friday, but we are definitely going to give you something to chew on throughout the weekend. So that's going to be great. I think you're going to have a good time. I think you're going to have something to say about it. So, as you know, this show is all about the audience participation. So, if you are watching, then go ahead and leave your comment in the comments of this live stream. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Instagram, you can see this. You can leave your comment right there, and I'll be able to see it as we're going. And when we get later on in the show, I might even choose your comment to put on the screen to discuss. So you get to be part of it. This is a conversation not just between me and our guest, but between you and me and our guest. Okay. I want you into it. So you have that invitation. It's open. You can say whatever you want, and it's the internet. So you're going to say good things. I know you will, for sure. Right. So that is good. So you're invited. Please do join us for that. Okay. We have a lovely guest. I am so excited to welcome him in here. Let me grab just a couple of things. This has been is very interesting because our guest, he's on his third career, proving you can do more than one, right? So for some of us, we need to do that. But he's a full-time artist, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But before that, he spent 32 years with Wycliffe Bible Translators. And then before that, he was like art director at Surfer Magazine. So we got to talk about that because, I bet that was really cool. Friends, one thing that all these things have in common is an artistic view of the world. So we're going to talk about the artistic life with Hyatt Moore. Welcome, Hyatt, to the podcast, to the live. I'm so excited that you are here. Thanks for being here.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here, and I can't stop smiling. I think it's because you're smiling and you're so upbeat that I can't help but respond in kind. So bless you.
I love that. Well, you know what? That's what we're here to do, right? Like I want to, I try to bring enthusiasm to these things. I try to bring energy. Listen, people are watching from hopefully all over the world.
I'm going to tell you something right now that I'm thinking about. I was in Argentina 3 weeks ago because I went with a group for a mission that Ann and I have been supporting for years, and I paint for them sometimes. And I went there and I love painting. I did paintings of the children because they have this big multi-purpose room that they built for this school. They're building a Christian school there, and it's blank walls.
Uh-oh.
And the children come from kind of poverty, but they have a nice building. But the blank walls, I think they can't be blank walls. I'm going to make paintings. So I made 2 10-foot paintings to leave there and had an idea to make 8 more. So I'm going to make 10-foot paintings of the children themselves smiling. And this is what made me think of it. I'm going to show you one. We just worked on it right now. I don't know how to see it. See, it's big, wall size. And there's the children themselves. And they're smiling. And that's what I wanted. It made me think of it when I made those opening remarks, that when somebody's smiling, you want to smile back. It's like you're happy. And so that's what made me think of it.
Well, isn't that true? Like, it's contagious. And so I think that is so appropriate for what we're going to talk about today, because I told you we're going to talk about beauty and how that relates to our lives and how beauty can make life better, right? I love that you saw a blank wall and you're like, I can't have that. I tell you what, I feel exactly that way. There's times when I go to crowds. I love, we go to Rockies and Cardinals games because I'm a St. Louis Cardinals fan. They were here a month ago. My dad was here and we went, and I'm in this crowd, or I go to a concert and I'm in this crowd and I'm overwhelmed by the fact that every person in this crowd, 40,000 people, right, have a story. They've got something to share. They've got experiences that I could benefit from. And so just like you with a blank canvas, I see that when I see a crowd and I go, I can't know everybody. How can this be? What am I going to do? And
Every one of them's a resource for you.
I know. I can't tell you how often I embarrass my family when we go into a crowd because I just start talking to people. I'm like, oh, tell me, or I'll make a joke, and then all of a sudden people are, talking to me, and
Good.
it just that's how I feel. So I can relate to it maybe from a little bit of a different,
Sure. Yeah. It's
perspective.
another art. It's another art. You have another gift.
100%.
Yeah,
Wow.
praise God.
Okay. What a great
Sure.
start we're off to, Hyatt. I'm so glad you're here. You're an
Me too.
artist. So you're a world traveler. I do know that about you. You've been all over the place. But what tell me about the life of an artist. Tell me how did you
Well,
get into that?
I'll tell you about it. First of all, people ask me, how long you been an artist? I know what they're fishing for. But what I tell them is I think I was born with it. Because
Yeah.
I think if you're not, you can't do it. But if you are, it doesn't mean you will do it.
Yeah.
Because we kind of have too many gifts than we have time to use in our lives. I mean, that's just the way God has given it. But we all have a number. So anyway, I think I was an artist that didn't take myself seriously as early because I think that's how it is. We're insecure and we think I'm not any good, all that. So you have to outgrow that, and that takes half a lifetime.
Yeah.
But it came over me to be a painter midlife. I mean, like I was in my 50s.
Wow.
And I was waiting for a light to change on my way home from work. And I had a job that I loved. I was the president of Wycliffe Bible Translators. I mean, I had a
Wow.
job. Yeah. And I loved it. But I was waiting for this light to change. And I looked in a gallery window because it was right there. I was in a kind of a Laguna Beach, got a lot of galleries. And I don't know what I saw. I mean, I don't remember what the painting was, but I thought, I can do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a painter. I'm going to be a painter. It just came over me. It wasn't like I'm going to try it. No, I'm going to be a painter. Like I said, I already had a job and a role. And people called me an artist because I'd been an art director. I'd been a graphic designer. And, I thought artistically. I thought creatively. So I was kind of an artist in my mind, but I wasn't doing it. No, at that moment, I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be an artist. So how was that going to look? So it took a long time because I had a job and the rest, how that happened after that is part of the story. And I've written it all, by the way, all this in a book. But I thought just recently how at that time I had no idea what that life would look like. I just knew I wanted to do it. It just came into me so deeply. I wanted to not just do it. I wanted to be it. I want to be a painter. Whoa, was that of God? Yeah, you think it can't be a God because it seemed like, it's not important. But it wasn't of me, and it certainly wasn't of Satan. So in the end, I think it was of God. I still don't know why. And besides that, I wasn't any good yet. I had to learn it. I had to learn how to do it. So that was the first part, just to apply myself to get good at it.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm it. I'm doing it. I have commissions. When I don't have commissions, I have ideas. I spend half of every day in this room in the studio, which is part of my house, or more than half. And when I'm not doing it, I'm trying to market it, or I'm delivering it, or thinking about it, or buying supplies. It's the art life, which is the whole everything, And so I thought at the time I didn't know what it would look like. Well, this is what it looks like. You got to get up in the morning, you have ideas. And some of it is ministry. So I'm a Christian. People ask me to do things, and sometimes, and I want to serve the Lord. Some of it isn't just creating beauty.
Wow.
And I think that's of God too. Anyway,
I'm so glad you said that because one of the things I want to talk to you about, and we'll talk about this throughout the whole conversation, but one of the things I want to talk to you about is the idea of beauty, because it's so important. And I like when you say, "Oh, was that of God?" Beauty is inherently godly, right?
Amen.
Like God created beauty.
That's right.
And so tell me why that's important to you and how you think about the concept of beauty.
Okay. Well, not every artist is trying to create beauty. Art can be art can be a statement, So it's not all art. They don't necessarily equate, but they do for me. It's my try. It's my goal to create something that's beautiful. And if it isn't beautiful, it isn't either isn't finished or just isn't successful because I want it to be beautiful. So that's my criteria for it. God created beauty. In fact, when we think of beauty, we usually go right to nature. Think, that's there it is. Everywhere we look, it's there. Well, almost everywhere. And it's one of the things I've thought about. In that God created everything beautiful. It says so, Ecclesiastes. God created all things beautiful in His time, which is an interesting verse sitting there in the middle of other things. And that's the way the Ecclesiastes is. It just sort of jumps around, has thoughts here and there, and that's one of them. And but He didn't need to, as I think about it. The ecosystem can work. The plants can give off the oxygen, and we can give off the air, carbon dioxide. So we're working together, to keep each other alive. It's like beauty was extra. It didn't have to be beautiful to work, but it is. Everything is, including things that we haven't found yet. The photographers, finally find some place that nobody's been, the bottom of the sea, or Greenland in the glaciers, and nobody's been there yet. But when they get there, it is so beautiful. It's like God just did it for His own pleasure, as if. It's because He doesn't create anything that isn't beautiful. So if we're created in the image of God, I think, well, that's one of the things that He gave us, at least to appreciate it. And we all have that. Some of us get to play with it and make our own versions of it. And that's my life. But everybody gets to have it. And you have it. Here's another thing. One time I was driving, it was in British Columbia, and it was beautiful there. And I was driving along in the morning. It was so beautiful. I wanted to own it. And I thought, what a stupid thought. You can't own it. It's the landscape. You can't own it, but you can have it for that moment.
Yep.
And that's everywhere. And if we see life like that, well, we can't be anything but rich and happy.
All right. Hi. Where did you get that perspective, right? Because most people don't have this perspective where they can think about, they can see things like that and just let it seep in and just enjoy and soak in it. Like, where did this come from for you?
Well, I don't know, to tell you the truth. It's a mystery. But I will say this. When I started painting, it's like my eyes opened more. They were already open, of course. But it's like as if, I don't know how they were connected, but somehow because I was trying to create things, I was looking harder or something. And I started seeing things as I drive along. I thought, oh, I'd like to paint that. Oh, I could paint that. If I had the ability, I could. I wanted to. It's like you with your conversations and your 40,000 people. It's like so everywhere, and you want to try it. So you're seeing more. And I think that the artist, it may seem arrogant, it may be wrong, but I'm going to complete my sentence in any case. I think the artist has that gift that he sees more, he or she, than the other person. Maybe not, because I can't speak for the other person. I just know when I became more of an artist, I started seeing more. And they kind of came together.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that in the sense, it's like my daughter's going to buy a car today, right? So as soon as she buys, she's getting a Honda CRV.
And you see them everywhere.
She's going to see them everywhere, right? It's kind of like that. You see what you're looking for.
I think that's it.
And I think that's a mindset that we can adopt. I think it's certainly true as a Christian person, but if you're not a Christian person, there's probably an equivalent. But if you're looking for the good, the beauty, the wonderful things, that's why I love that wonderful. What a wonderful world, right? Louis Armstrong. Like when you just adopt that, I'm getting goosebumps here just talking about this. I'm so glad we're doing it. That is what makes life really, really good, right? Even relationships, they can be hard, but if you see the good things and the beautiful things in the other person and you're looking for them, you're bound to see them better. More often.
I think it's a great analogy that you just said. So I think it can be developed.
Yeah,
it can be developed.
Sure.
And it probably could be asked for too. You could ask God, open my eyes. And I think he's happy to do it because he knows he's made it beautiful. Plato and those guys, they came up with the most transcendent values in life, in the world. And it was goodness, truth, and beauty. It's right there in the
Yeah.
top three.
Right.
Well, they realize it's like you don't get higher than those things. Goodness is it,
Yeah.
truth is it, and beauty is it. You do things for the sake of beauty, to get there. And another thing is that it's objective. We think, well, beautiful things it's all in the eye of the beholder. Well, it's true to a point. A lot of things depend on who we are and what we've been exposed to and all that, what we like. But there's also an objective beauty that seems like the whole world knows when it's looking at it and knows when it's missing. Another great definition I heard or read years ago about what's beautiful, what is beauty, and the definition was beauty is something or anything that is strong in its kind. Strong in its kind. I love that because that way you don't compare a beautiful car with a beautiful woman. They're both beautiful, but you can't say one's more beautiful than the other because they're in different kinds.
Right.
But you can have a very beautiful car and a very beautiful woman.
Right.
Strong in its kind. I love that.
Yep. I talk about that with movies all the time. I call it my Nevin's theory of genre, which I didn't make up genre, but I just, to name it after myself. And I said, and because any movie can be good if it satisfies the rules of the genre, right? Like
that's good.
So
that's the kind of thing I'm saying.
As long as Batman, has a problem, gets in trouble, solves it with a really great gadget or something that he came up with, and then he wins in the end, I'm happy with the Batman movie, right? It's good. That's all I needed. Anyway, I love it. Okay, I want to go back because I'm curious if this aspect for you had to have been throughout your life in numerous ways. I was thinking about some of your experiences. What's something that you learned? I'm going to go all the way back to Surfer Magazine because what an interesting place, right? I bet that I was looking at some of their stuff. I mean, just even all the surfing, I don't understand how people do that. But I grew up in Iowa, but the whole it's beautiful. The ocean is beautiful. We're talking about how beautiful the ocean is.
Yeah.
What is that something you learned, or can you look back and go, hey, that I could see the seeds of some of this kind of life that I've got.
Well, Surfer Magazine was a gift. This before I knew the Lord, by the way.
Okay.
And I know the Lord during that period. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. But I mean, earlier on, I decided I wanted to be a graphic designer. And I had to, when I discovered it, I started teaching it to myself by looking to see what other people were doing. And then I thought, I want to be an art director because it seemed like a graphic designer that was responsible for bigger things and maybe staff and that kind of thing. So an art director is basically a graphic designer more so. Okay. And that's what I wanted to do. And as I trained myself in that area through connection to somebody I met, I got recommended to this job at Surfer Magazine. It wasn't because I was a surfer, although I grew up around them. They were all, friends of mine were surfers and they were gung-ho about it. I just wasn't because I thought I had other things to do. A full-on surfer kind of puts everything else aside. I didn't do that. But I got offered the job because they saw that I could do it. And they saw I had a youthful approach. It was a youth magazine. I was a creative person. They wanted that. I had a sense of humor. They wanted that. So they were looking for those kind of things, and I fit it. And I could work hard, and I could do designs. And I saw it as an art form. I mean, I wanted to make it a beautiful magazine. And it was because of photography. But I wanted to do the graphics to be beautiful, the whole thing. And I got a lot of good marks for doing that. So anyway, but that's as far as my art was going to go at that time. I didn't see myself as a painter, although I tried it. I dabbled with it, but I wasn't any good at it. And I didn't care because it wasn't my future. My future was to be a graphic designer and an art director. Now, it's part of my testimony because when I realized that I had arrived at that, and I thought it was a distant goal, but I had these already at age 25, 26, and I realized I was empty. I had my Porsche, I had my sailboat, I had my car, I had a beautiful wife. how come I was empty? Well, God wasn't there, and it's put me on a search, and that whole search is a story, a long story.
Yeah.
But and I finally found He found me by myself. Well, and deep in Mexico, reading. And anyway, that's my story. And then after that, I said I want to serve God. So then Surfer Magazine went away, not right away.
Yeah.
I still loved it, but I thought, now I want to do something for God. And that's what got me into Wycliffe Bible Translators. And that became my second career, which had many careers within it, by the way.
Yeah, because you were there for a long time.
Huh?
No, that's good. I love that. That does give me sort of a feeling of this was always really kind of who you were. You had this sense of design and beauty and what you wanted to do. And
I wasn't good at school, by the way. I mean, I didn't like academics, and it's like as if you feel like, well, I'm stupid, but I can do this. Right. You realize later on, no, there's different kinds of intelligence. I just don't have that one. Other people don't have this one. So that's how we're different.
Totally. Yeah. School can make you feel like one thing. Okay. So, but then you went to Wycliffe. So I was curious about this then. Like because language is its own art, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean,
don't ask me too much about it because half of us in Wycliffe are not linguists.
Okay, that makes sense.
For other things, and I was one of the other things.
Some people probably don't know what Wycliffe does, and so just tell us at least a little bit about what they do, and then what kind of the goal is, at least so that we can have that as a common understanding. Sure. And then were you a translator or no? You weren't a translator?
No. Okay. Remember, I wasn't one of the smart ones.
Yeah. Okay. I did study Greek and Hebrew, but I couldn't put it into another language.
Yeah. Okay.
I could barely put it into English. But okay, so start there, and we'll go wherever that takes us.
There are over 6,000 languages in the world, half of which, at least until recently, had no alphabet.
Wow.
Without an alphabet, you have no literacy.
Yeah.
People don't know how to read because there's nothing to read. So some Christians thought, well, they should have the Bible. But you can't have the Bible without, starting the starting place. You got to have an alphabet. Well, they have languages. They're talking to each other, have been for generations, but, maybe sophisticated language, but it's never been written. So the first thing a translator has to do is learn how to speak a language that has never been written down, and then put it into writing. And then as a process, beginning to translate the Word of God. But not just that, because you got to do all kinds of other literacy materials so they can have practice reading. So it's that's it in a nutshell. As time has gone by, Wycliffe's approach has evolved so that the nationals themselves that we've been depending on the whole time, because they're the ones who really know their own language best, now are in charge. So we support them in this process. And it goes a little better because they know their language best. So that's sort of how it's evolved. But it's still going on. And they have goals to reach all the languages of the world by our generation, really. And they're kind of making progress so that all the languages of the world have something of the Word of God that they can read. Now, they don't have to read it. We don't force anybody to do anything, but they have the option. And if they see that it's valuable, like we have seen, it's there for them.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. Okay, that's so interesting. I'm kind of a Bible nerd. This isn't necessarily a Christian forum, but we can talk about it. And so my background is all in that stuff, so I find that very interesting. That
you would.
That whole process. It's good.
I love the Bible too, by the way. I spend time every day.
It's kind of an important book. Interestingly,
so
right, kind of important. I mean, just speaking like if you're a Christian, it definitely is. But even in the history, so I've got a set of books right up here. It used to be right behind me for those of you who remember my old setup, but right up here on my shelves, it's called the Great Books of the Western World, and they were edited or put together, collected by Mortimer J. Adler at the University of Chicago. And they put together a 10-year reading plan because it's like 53 books and it goes through everything from Plato to Freud and everything in between, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I love it. I think it's cool. And every time I have a milestone birthday, I think I'm going to read this by the time I'm, 50 or whatever. This never happened, but it's there's a lot there. If I'm looking at, but my point was part of it is that in the reading plan they assume you have a Bible, right? So they assume that the Bible, and they include biblical text as part of it. So by the time you read in 10 years, you will have read also the entirety of the Bible, which
beautiful.
Which is good. Yeah, for a if you wanted to get a sense of at least some of the most important books in the Western canon. Okay. Anyway, I'm interested in that whole thing, and that's good. Hey, what about that's interesting. I had forgotten, because I know that Sue had told me at some point, your sister, that as we know, that you were the president of Wycliffe, but I forgot.
Yeah, well, it didn't happen right away. I started at the bottom. I was started as a print shop artist in Guatemala. Yeah. Print shop artist. I was at the bottom of the bottom, but that's what they needed.
So you took your skills to Guatemala.
To Guatemala. It's a whole story about how that happened. But, well, I promised the Lord I wanted to serve him with my life, and even if it was boring, I wanted to do it. I mean, it's a story. I had to kind of die to myself to that. I got to Guatemala, and the work was so boring. I thought, yeah, I said I would do this, even if it's boring. And sure enough, it is. Anybody could do this. You know, they didn't need an expert that knew how to do graphic design and put his work on the bookshelf, magazine racks around the world. They didn't need that. All you needed, somebody could do this little stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I said, the Lord brought me here, and this needs to be done. I can do more, but they don't know it or care. This needs to be done. I'm just going to do it. So I had to kind of pass that test. And I thought, I wonder if this is a test. I think it's a test. I'm going to pass. Anyway, I'm just saying that because that was that was key. Because after a while, it wasn't very long after that, I started getting more responsibilities. And people said, well, you can do this now. I said, well, I can't do that. No, yes, you can. We don't have anybody else. And I'll do that. So things got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, you can do graphic design. Oh, we need you in the home office because we're going to do that stuff in-house now. So I was transferred back to the home office. And then I was doing graphic design for them. And then thought, well, they need more than they know they need. They need all kinds of stuff in print that they're not thinking about. So they said, well, you think about it. You be the director of communications. Oh, okay. And then we lost our editor. I said, well, you be the editor too, while you're also the graphic.
Do all the jobs.
And then then you can be a writer. And it kept going, get bigger. And you're also a manager of a whole department, and then multiple departments. Loving it. I was loving it. And they said, well, you need more field experience. Go to Papua New Guinea. So I went to Papua New Guinea for a couple of years. And then I wrote a book and did other things. And my life just got bigger and more interesting all the time. Yeah. That's the key. When I was willing to give my life up, my claim to an interesting life up to the Lord for his service, that was my whole challenge that the Lord had to take me through. And then I saw that my life was getting more and more interesting all the time. Two other people would say, you have a very interesting life. And I said, I know, but you don't know how it started. It started by having to give it up, and it's grown, just like the Lord says.
Yeah.
Nobody gives anything up for the Lord that doesn't get 100 times back in this life. There's a verse that says that. One of my favorite. Mark someplace, 12, I think. Anyway, it kept getting bigger. And then I became a vice president of the international operation out in Dallas. And that was great. Everybody I worked with is smart, great, gracious, well-traveled, interesting, PhDs. I didn't have a degree. Not yet. I finally got one midlife. But, and then they had an internal election for the next president of Wycliffe Bible Translators USA. And I said, don't look at me, but they looked at me and they elected me. And then that became interesting. And I loved it. I loved that. Very creative.
How long did you do that?
I was 5 years in that job.
Okay.
And I was brought in as kind of a change agent because it was an organization that was starting to feel its age. And they said, we need a mid-career boost here. And that's what I did because I was good at coming up with ideas and all that. Well, we got to be too many for some people. So it only lasted 5 years. And it was great. But it was during that time that this other experience that I mentioned earlier came over me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be a painter. Well, you already got a role. You already got a direction. You got a career.
Interesting.
What's this? I know. I know. In fact, I heard myself say, as soon as I got that idea, my other voice would say, "You can't do that. It'd be crazy. You get kids at home. You got a job. You got a mega job. You got a role in the kingdom." I said, "Yeah, that's all true, true, true. But I know this is going to happen, and I'm so stoked. And I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to do it." And that was the beginning of it. Well, that was 25 years ago now, but I've been making my living at it for 20 years and loving
Wow.
it. It's a life of faith.
I love that. How does an artist make a living? Okay, wait. Don't answer that. Answer that in just a second, okay? I'm gonna just take 1 second. That's a great. I'm curious about how this all works. Okay, but before Hyatt answers that, friends, if you're watching, I hope you're watching. I hope you're enjoying this, and you're wherever you are. If you have a question, maybe you have a question like I do. How do you even make a living? Is this 20 years you've been making a living as an artist? Wow. How do you do that? Or maybe there's other questions. Maybe you have a question about, maybe you've got an art thing, or maybe you've had an experience where you're like, hey, I wonder if this could be, something that God is maybe calling me to. Or I don't know, you have something. Maybe you want to ask about a style or his inspiration or whatever it is. If you have a question for Hyatt, please put it in the chat, because in a few minutes, just a few minutes, we're going to actually be answering your questions, and I want you to be involved in this conversation. So you can put that in the chat. You can also, while we're there, head over to YouTube. Just search Eric Nevins Live. That's the name of the show. It's just me and a friend, and we're live. So it's Eric Nevins Live. When I have creative people on, I feel a little insecure about that. I couldn't find anything more creative, but I was like, it's just going to be me. So Eric Nevins Live. And go to YouTube, search Eric Nevins Live. You'll find it. Hit subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. We're growing. We didn't have any subscribers at the beginning of the week. I think we have 22 today. So if you want to sign up, I would really appreciate that. And I keep you abreast, because when we have these conversations, you'll get notifications. And I think you want to be part of them, because they are fantastic. Okay. Hyatt, welcome back. Thank you for giving me just a second. Go ahead. Answer the how does an artist make?
Well, the first thing you have to do is get good.
Yeah.
Now, I know a person, I've just met her a couple of weeks ago. She is a dynamic, mid-age go-getter who's already had successes in a number of areas, and she has just discovered painting. And that's how we met, because she found me and we connected. She's so bad. Her work is so.
I hope she doesn't see this.
She's not listening. But she herself would say that, because she told me right off the bat, I have no talent, but I have this interest. When I looked at it, I said, well, that's right.
Enough, isn't it?
But she's got this gumption. She's going for it. She's getting her work into a restaurant right now. And I think, wow, here's a person that's got so much, but she's not intimidated by that. I mean, I give her a lot of credit. When I say bad, she's bad because she's new. I don't know if she's always going to be, but that's how we are at the beginning. So anyway, the first thing is to get good, so that you have work that's desired.
So tell me about your process of getting good, because
somebody told me that before you start selling paintings, you got to make 1,000. He told me that somebody had told him that, and he was making a living doing 1,000 paintings. I mean, making paintings, and he was also teaching at that time. But I asked him, "Did you do that?" He said, "No, I didn't, but I should have," because he quit his teaching job because he sold a couple of paintings. But he'd only sold a couple. Now you got to raise a family selling and painting now and then. So he struggled for quite a while. But he told me that. Now, I was still at Wycliffe for 7 years, actually, between the time I got that vision at the stoplight and actually started making my living as a painter. So when I quit Wycliffe after 32 years, that was a 7-year period. And during that time, I was painting more and more and more and more and more. So I was getting good, but I wasn't trying to sell yet. Maybe toward the end a little bit.
Yeah.
Till all of a sudden I had to, because now we're going to make our living at it. So I think that's what they say is keep your day job, while you're learning it.
That's fair.
Because you can't, because even if you make a sale, that doesn't mean it's going to happen again for a long time or ever.
Right.
Okay, so here's another thing I'll tell people when they say, "Oh, isn't it great that you get to make your living just painting paintings?" And I say, I know what they're thinking, but no, I don't make my living painting paintings. I make my living selling paintings. Right?
Oh, that's so good. Yes.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Oh, that. And it's not like you know how to. And it's not like there's any one path. It seems like every artist is kind of figuring it out for themselves. I mean, there's certain paths. You can see if you can get in your work in galleries, and that
Yep.
always feels like you've arrived. But then it just sits in the gallery,
Right.
you know. So
Till somebody buys it.
yeah, and maybe they don't. So, that's still sort of a false hope. I mean, maybe it works,
Yep.
but you just have to keep trying different things. I always say everything works a little, so do everything. And I think
Yeah.
about it. One time, a guy asked me, who was I thought a successful artist, but he thought I was. So he called me and said, How do you succeed? I said, You're asking me? How do I know? Who knows how to succeed in this life? And then I thought of something that I've never forgotten because it so works for everything. I said, you go through every door that opens and you knock on all the rest.
Oh, that's great.
So, in
Wow.
other words, just take initiative.
Yeah.
Who knows what will happen? One of the great verses in Ecclesiastes: sow your seed in the morning, and in the evening do not let your hands be idle.
Yeah.
For you do not know which will succeed. Maybe this and maybe that. And maybe both will be equally well. That's a beautiful verse. And I love it for the advice it's giving us. But I also love it that in the Bible it's telling us, you don't know what's going to succeed. We think that because we have the Holy Spirit promised to us, everything we do will just work. But it isn't. Life isn't that way. And so you try things. And I love that Ecclesiastes says that. And another one, whoever watches the wind will not sow. And there's always some obstacle. So
Right.
okay, there's the obstacle. But do you sit and complain about it, or do you get to work?
Yep.
So that's how I make a living. I don't know how I make a living,
I
but I
love
take
that.
initiative and I stay active.
You said something that I am just going to underscore because it's true for everyone. Maybe it's true for everybody, but it's true for everyone in an artistic field. So if you're a musician, if you're even a podcaster, if you're an author, I talk to a lot of authors. If you're a filmmaker, whatever it is, you actually have two parts of your business. There's the creating, and that's the part that everybody wants to do, but there's also the selling, right? There are two pieces to it
That's right.
that you have to do. So I gave my daughter this advice. She wants to be a writer, and I said, you know, that can be hard, but people make money writing every day, right? So I said, okay, you want to be a writer, fine, but you also need to study marketing when you go to college. Study
That's right.
English, but also study marketing because you have to not only write, but you have to learn how to sell your work. And when
That's
you
right.
learn how to sell your work, then you'll be successful. And that's really kind of the key to a whole bunch. And it's not so okay. So artists are notoriously precious about their work. Like they want to just do the work they want to do. And they might not take, I've heard you talk about taking commissions, right? Somebody will commission a painting for you, from you. Do you feel precious about it? Does that bother you? How
No,
do you think about it?
I have love hate with commissions. I love them
Okay.
because they pay.
Yeah.
I hate them because I can't get rid of that person's mindset in my mind. And are they going to like this?
Yeah.
Well, because I just did a commission last week. The guy even said, "This is a very important painting to me." I thought, "Oh boy!" So I freeze up. No, I made it, and he liked it, and it succeeded, and he paid me well for it. So it works. So as time goes by, I've got more confidence that I can perform for them. But when I'm only performing for me, I'm freer. I make freer paintings.
Yeah.
But I think I got 6 commissions going right now, which is never had that.
Wow.
Usually it's one now and then. So I'm very grateful for them. But different things happen. Now I'm going to walk you around a little bit because I can
Okay.
do it a little bit. I mean, that's not kind of a commission, although I'm giving it away, but I'm doing it for them. Okay. This one, I just started it. It's too garish right now. Can you see it? It's the Titanic.
Oh
And
yeah.
she wants those reds. And it's, like I said, it's too garish. It's going to come way down, but it's a start, but it's a commission. This was a commission. This was the Bible translation team, in fact. And
Oh
in the
wow.
photograph, the main translator was back there. I mean, the American was in there, but I took him out. He didn't want to be in there. And I rearranged things. And I took her from another photo, and they're holding it up. So that's succeeding. So that was a commission for a missionary. Yeah, a missionary had some money. Amazing. Now, here's the floral. I do these a lot. These are paintings I just do because I want to. Who knows if somebody will ever buy those. But, I'm doing that kind of thing. And then here's another room.
What do you do with them if nobody buys them?
Oh, man. You want to see?
I did not. There they are.
There they
Okay.
are.
You
Now,
store
they
them.
come and go in there. I mean, it's not just, they're not, although I do call it the Dead Sea because more goes in than comes out. But, here's just a great painting. I just wanted to paint those people. Who knows if I'll find a buyer for that someday. Same with that landscape.
Oh, that's
Same with,
beautiful. Wow.
yeah. So I just
Gorgeous.
paint, and then I'll do a lot of these florals. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to promote these right now. They're on my website. It's kind of a promotion. All those floral. There's another one. And then this is how we live. I won't go much farther, but here's our living room. That's how we live.
Yeah. I love that.
There's
It's beautiful. Like
big
you've got them all over your house.
all over the house, in the garage, overflowing. So, it's just how we live.
It's life.
But anyway, see, I think you sort of asked, can I don't know if you did ask, but I'll act as if you asked, can I part with my paintings? Yeah. I think, I sell everything because I want other people to have them and I want to make a living. And I can always make another if I want to, because I'm a
Yeah.
living artist. I'm not a dead artist yet.
Which is good.
Oh, my
Wow.
wife's an artist. That's her side. That is her press. She's a printmaker.
Okay.
And her half of the art, her half of the studio.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's
so
interesting.
yeah.
I love it. Okay, that was really cool. I forget what I asked you that made you
I think we were talking about how to make a living,
Yeah.
and so that was part of it. But
And the commission and the whole thing with the commissions and how that works and all that. Okay, interesting. I just find that fascinating. Here's the thing. Anybody who thinks, "Oh, you can't make a living doing something creative." Your thing may not be painting. It might be music. I follow a lot of indie musicians or up and coming musicians on places like TikTok. And I do that because I love music, but also I want to support them. And it's hard. But here's the thing. It's never been more possible to get your message out to more people than it is today, right? You used to have to go where they were, but now they will all come and peek in your little your studio there and your
I know, I
Dead
know.
Sea room. So the internet's very powerful,
It's
and
it's
especially
a
for
gift for us.
artists.
That's right. We
100%.
wouldn't have had this a few years ago, and now we have these tools. It's incredible, incredible if we'll
I
use
love
them.
it.
Use them
Yeah,
right.
I love it. Okay,
But
guys,
let's say half the world is art. Let's
yeah,
divide the world into science and art. Let's do that because
okay,
that sort of works. Okay, the scientists, we know they're making a living. I mean, my son's an engineer. He's a PhD engineer. Has figured out how to make a living too, but he is.
yeah,
Okay. You kind of think, well, they get jobs. Artists, they don't get jobs. Well, they kind of do too. That's not true. There's art jobs. I was an art
yeah,
director. That's a
yep.
job. Another thing about art and science, since I'm on this, and I learned this in a book called Art and Fear. It's a great quote. Science is the area of life where everything is duplicatable. Okay, you know that it's going to work every time that way, and that's what
Yeah,
science does. Art is the opposite. It's never duplicatable.
right.
It's always going to be new. Well, that's the side we're on. And it's like I said, you're sort of always having to find your own path on that one because it's that's the way it is. But it's half the world.
Right.
We feel like we're in a minority, but there's lots of us trying to do this, and there's lots of room for us.
100%. I love that. Friends, I hope you're encouraged by that. Okay, I've got one more question, and then we're going to go to your questions. So this is your last call. Like, get your questions in there. I want to ask you about some of your process because I saw you talking about it on one of your videos, and you're like, so you said you're a lot more free to paint when it's just for you, and then versus a commission. And you were like, I mean, you can't really live this way all the time, right? Just doing what you feel like, right? But you can when you paint. Tell me about how that feels, or what you're like. Take us into that kind of like the moment. What are you looking for? What are you trying to? Is it an internal feeling? Is it something you notice, sensory, or what is it? What is it when you're following that?
I don't know, but I know ideas come to me very easy. It's very easy to get ideas, and I write them down sometimes or whatever. And so I even have a file on my computer that says to paint. So if I'm ever out of ideas, I can go there and there's 100 things I could paint and all subdivided. I don't usually have to go there because I get ideas. But I'm always telling myself to be freer with it. I don't want to be tight. In fact, that's kind of a normal for a painter. You start tight because you want to get your drawing just right, and then you paint it like a coloring book. And say, yeah, but that's not what I want the painting to look like. I need it to look freer. Yeah. Well, the only way to do that is to have confidence. Okay, the only way to have confidence is practice.
Yeah.
So it just comes eventually. But the whole time you're telling yourself, be freer, be freer. I like that background of this painting. And those are kind of a tight painting because they all had to look like that. But I went like this for the background, and the guy liked it. So I thought, good, that's working, Yeah. So there's always, at least I tell myself, there's always an abstract element. In fact, you start that way with a painting. That's how, as you grow, mature as an artist. I told you how we start. We start too exact because we're not sure. So we're tight. But the only way to look free is to start free, which means start with all kinds of messiness and then bring it into tight, but not too tight. And then you stop at a certain point. And that's sort of how I do it.
Well, there's a way that also is very reflective of God and his character, right? Well, how did he start with the world? It was formless and void, and he made it into order.
That's good.
Right?
That's good. Yeah.
Told you I got a degree in this. We're good. All right. Hi, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. I want to have some questions, so let's go. We got a few comments here. I'm gonna toss these up on the screen, friends. If you have a question, let's hear it. So let's see. What do we got? Oh, Monica. Hey, Monica. Good to see you. She wants to know about your book. What book did you write? Tell us about your book.
Well, I have a number of books. The one I mentioned was a 3-part memoir, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. And the first one's called The Early Years, Early Directions. That's sort of my misbehaviors before I got saved and then getting saved in that book. And the second one is called The Life of Service, which is my 32 years with Wycliffe Bible Translators, lots of faith stories. And then the third book is Art Takes Over, which is the life I'm leading now, about the art life. And they're all on my website. My website is hyattmoore.com, and all my books are on there. I have a whole bunch of them, but those 3, I call them the rear view mirror, are there. And you can get them there, or you can get them on Amazon, and they're a joy to write. Because I'm a writer as well, and I wanted to get those things. I wanted to get those thoughts down, so I did.
I love it. All right, Chris, my friend Chris Stone said this. He quoted you, "I don't make my living painting paintings. I make my living selling paintings." That probably is going to be the quote of it might be a quote of the week. We got a lot of great quotes, but the quote of the interview for sure. Because I just think that matters so much. That'll be our viral moment, right? So we're gonna stick that out there. That'll be great. This is maybe somebody knows. Steve Moore. Who's that guy? You know that guy? He says, tell about I think so. Tell about the caricature of my saxophone you painted on our bedroom wall when we were growing up. This is a story about Hyatt, the artist, way before he was actually a selling
That's
artist.
yeah. Well, okay. He became a musician and a music teacher, and he can play all the instruments in the whole band, and he even now teaches ukulele. And so music was his life, and he took it seriously as a young person. He was 2 years younger than me. I was the artist, but didn't take it seriously. I played with it, but never was going to do anything with it. So that was the difference between us. But he played the saxophone, and one day I said, on our bedroom, we shared a bedroom, I just painted his saxophone on the wall. Uh, my parents let me get away with that. And in fact, my mother loved it because it was all kinds of humor. Every one
Yeah.
of the valves had something coming out of her thought balloon or something. And so later, when my parents moved, but rented the house, rented it out while they moved for several years, they wouldn't let any tenant touch that painting. It was permanent on the wall, and all the tenants were kind of like, we have to deal with it. We have to live with this thing on the
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah.
Well, they would not let us because it was precious to her. So that's the story.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Okay, Steve, this is how I know it's your. Is Steve your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you said that. Yeah, he gives his unsold paintings to his brother and three sisters.
You what?
He said you give your paintings, your unsold paintings, to them.
Yeah, I give them paintings.
Yeah, that's
They
good.
won't buy them, so.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second because that's
That's not
fascinating.
true. My sister Sue has bought a number of paintings, so
Oh
I
well,
can't say that.
Sue's a gem. She
Yeah,
really
yeah,
genuinely is.
that's
I want to go because there's something for artists, creatives in that little. It's a funny anecdote, but it's true. One of the things I found when I first started my podcast, and there were early on, my friends and family would listen. I think they would be like, "Oh, what is Eric doing? What is this thing?" They're trying to figure it out. But they didn't become longtime subscribers, listeners, whatever, for the most part. And that could have bothered me. I think at at a different time in my life, it might have. But what I found out was that as it grew, I was so much happier that I knew that it wasn't just my friends and family listening, even though I'm happy for them to listen. It was people who found the work meaningful, right? They wanted to hear it
yeah,
because of
yeah.
what I was doing. So if you're an artist, I guess my advice to you would be whatever kind of creative you are, it's okay if your family, like, the interaction is different. Maybe they don't even get it. They may not be your people. They may not be your audience. What you want to
Yeah,
do, find the
yeah,
people who really love what you do.
yeah, yeah. Okay, there's a couple other things, and that has. How do I start this off? Okay. I'm going to say I got a blog. It's on
Yeah.
my website. Anybody wants to get it? It's a 1 week. Every week I have put something out, and sometimes it's to advertise what I've just done. Like today, it was a recent successful commission. But sometimes it's more of a word to the wise. Whatever I'm saying,
Hmm.
because that's part of what I want to do in life. I got two directions. One I call for profit, and the other one's, I don't want to say not for profit. It's more like for profit of others. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
profit is where I'm trying to sell work. The other one is where I'm going to give, and it may be giving paintings like this big one here that I'm just let's going to Argentina, or maybe just giving a life or my words. You know what I mean? I call that generativity, and I think I took a class in this many years ago, and it was called Human Growth and Development. I think that's the class I learned this in. I read a book on it. How a life that is maturing in a healthy way is becoming more generative. That is to say, it's ready to give away what it has, to
Wow.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a life that isn't is the opposite. Is more protective, more selfish, more worried, more caring to make sure that I don't lose what I have.
Right.
Those are two different directions that life can take. But the healthy one is freer and happier and giving. I'm just saying that because I've been getting older as time goes by, and I see myself wanting to go in that direction. for the, and my art is just part of that. But the whole life is that.
Yeah.
The art is just what I do. But you do podcasts, and so you could have the same mentality the same way. You just carry it out a different way. You
Right.
have different. And so anyway, I think about these things. And part of that is on my blog too. I think, those are the kind of things I share when
Yeah.
when appropriate.
Yeah. I don't know if this is where you were going, but you sparked in me an interest thought. So I'm just gonna ask it. How do you think about your work? Maybe you're kind of talking about this going into what might be the later years of your life, right? Like this is your third act,
Yeah.
like you said.
Yeah.
How do you does that shape how you are thinking about, but beyond just maybe giving it away, but how does that change your art and how you're doing it? And I'll give you a second to think about that. I think it's interesting because I'm at this point. I'm maybe what was probably midlife, but close enough where I'm going, oh man, 48 doesn't seem as old as it used to, right? Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're getting there.
I'm going to be 28 in 2 days. I'm going to be 28 in 2 more days.
Are you really?
Yeah. I've decided to switch the numbers.
It colors the meaning for me, right? It colors the meaning of like, how much time do I have and what do I want to do
Yeah.
most? How do I spend that? How do you think about it?
I think about it. I think about it a lot. I don't know how much it changes things.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that I'm doing things for the kingdom and for my next life. For example, I come across, and I'm marketing myself, right? And so when you're marketing yourself, you're showing your best stuff and you're putting your best foot forward. And then I ran across this scripture the other day in my morning reading where these guys were saying, I want to be the best in the kingdom. And the Lord overhears it and said, if you want to be the best in the kingdom, you become like this little child. The ones who are going to be the best is the least here. And I thought, oh my goodness, now how do I do that? How do I do that?
Yeah.
But it seems like it should be at least easier. Because when you're always trying to be the best, there's all kinds of competition with yourself. You're not as good as you want to be ever.
Right.
And yet, if you look at the other way, what the Lord seems to say, this is what I respect and will prosper. I don't even know how to do that, but it becomes a mindset to think I'm going to look for that, look for ways to do this. So, I'm trying to say sort of how to live.
I think so, yeah.
And the art is just part of it because that's how I live, but it's really a bigger question. It's for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Creating work that, let's say, transcends the age. I'm going to use that word. But I think we all have those. We all have something to give in that vein. Wow. Okay.
Let me say another thing.
Go ahead.
That I think about. I think I've been given a gift. I have been given a gift. And I tell people that I've been given a gift because I think that way, but I don't mean it the way they think I mean it. They think I'm talking about the fact that I have gift, and without that, I couldn't do it. I'm a gifted artist. That's what they think I mean. That's not what I mean. What I mean is I've been given something that will hold my interest and keep me growing for the rest of my life. And I will never retire. That's a gift. And if anybody that can find that in their life, that's a gift for them.
100%. That really is. Man, you're hitting on all the things that I love to talk about. Because yes. Like I grew up in a generation we kept saying hey, Social Security is going to go broke, and so we never really expected to have it anyway. So I didn't expect to retire, even if I ended up working at the Walmart line. But yeah, there was a certain point where I got to a place where I went, look, I don't care. Like, hopefully I don't retire. I want to find work that I don't want to retire from, right? That there's work that I can do that I love to do and that doesn't feel like work. That's what I was after.
Okay, here's another one.
Not everybody gets to do that, but if you can find it, man, you're blessed.
Here's another one. This is called The Second Adulthood.
Oh.
Okay. I read a book on this one many years ago. I think I did. At least I got the concept somewhere. And it compares with the first adulthood. The first adulthood is when we are finding out who we are. what our gifts are, getting ourselves educated, getting a job, competing with the world, and proving to ourselves and everybody else that, yeah, we can do it too. That's first adulthood, and it can go on for a long time. But at a certain point, you started moving to the second adulthood, where now you've done that. You're satisfied. I made it work. Now what? And then I'm not saying necessarily it changes, but the mentality changes. And you start thinking, now I'll do something that I'm not competing with anybody, but I'm going to do something that only I can do. That'll probably come out of the experiences from the earlier, but it becomes more unique and very genuine.
Yeah.
And I believe that any life that's maturing in a healthy way will find that. Will find that something that only can do that way and is making a contribution to the rest of the world by doing it.
Yeah, I think that's so true. That's so fascinating because maturity is one of those things that really, I don't think we talk about enough. You know, like we at least I didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's just something I'm interested in and I love. So I'm glad you brought that up. I love it. All right, I don't want to keep you too long. Although I think we need to be best friends. And next time I'm in California, I'm going to look you up because I think we're definitely.
Come to visit us. We got a guest room.
Be careful. I might take you. So, all right, friends, you can find Hyatt. Thanks so much for being here. It's hyattmoore.com. There's his email address. I just grabbed a little one of your pictures that I love, the one that says "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." It's red and kind of beautiful, beautiful. Friends, you can see that and see kind of an idea of what Hyatt's work is. You've got a good glimpse today. So go to hyattmoore.com. Order something, get a book, get the rearview mirror, all three editions.
Get off my blog.
There you go. Yep. And you can handle it there. Thanks for being here, Hyatt. Friends, I appreciate you being here. You can find everything that we do. Best place to go right now. Just go to YouTube and search Eric Nevins Live and check it out. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment. I'm doing shorts and I'm going to try to do, maybe you want this, maybe you don't. I'm going to start to do some commentary. My brain gets going after I do these conversations. There's so much stuff I want to say. I'm going to start sharing that there too. But Eric Nevins Live on YouTube and you can subscribe. Please do that. Would appreciate it very much. Thank you for those of you who contributed to the conversation. Really deeply appreciate that. This has been fun. Hyatt, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you guys next time. We'll be here. Monday's holiday, so we'll be here Tuesday. I'll see you then. Oh, and the way I like to end these shows, I'm not going to forget next time. It's this. Remember, you're only human, but humans do extraordinary things. So go do something amazing. We'll see you guys next time.